In the soft embrace of the present moment, take a breath and feel the warmth around you, the gentle hum of familiarity. You rest in a cocoon of comfort, where the mundane worries of today gently fade into the background. Outside, the world may bustle, but in this slice of time, you are safe, serene, and ready to embark on a journey through the ages. Allow your mind to drift gently as we journey back to the year 985 AD, to a place known as Greenland, a land where the icy embrace of winter envelops the landscape, bending the will of both man and beast. Here, the air is sharp and crystal clear, each breath laced with the coolness of the frozen north. As you step into this world, imagine the biting chill that greets you, a remnant of the frigid winds that sweep across the vast stretches of ice and stone. The whispering winds call to you, carrying the faint echoes of the sea. Listen closely, and you may hear the restless waves that crash upon the distant shores, sending frothy sprays into the air, like nature's breath against the frosty slate of the land. It is a haunting sound, both beautiful and melancholic, resonating with the solitude of this harsh environment. The sea, forever restless, acts as both a life-giver and a destroyer, where its depths are mirrored in the hearts of those who call this place home. This is a realm of isolation. The ice-blanketed earth stretches for miles, devoid of the comfort seen in more temperate lands. The horizon is vast and unyielding, where the wild beauty of the landscape commands respect and fear in equal parts. Here, life clings with tenacity, for survival is a daily battle against the cruel elements. In this stark world, the sunlight captures the ice in fleeting moments, creating a dazzling display of glimmering crystals. Like nature's jewels scattered across the barren expanse, the air is filled with the scent of brine and frost. The salty tang hints at the ocean's influence, wrapping around the ancient fjords and towering glaciers. Each step upon the icy ground is met with crunching underfoot, the sound echoing into the stillness, a reminder of your presence in this untouched land. This place may be viewed as bleak by some, but to its inhabitants, it holds a unyielding beauty that is intoxicating in its own right. Here we delve deep into the lives of the Norse settlers who bravely navigated these icy shores. They are a hardy folk, shaped by the fierce climes, crafting homes of stone and timber against the relentless cold. Each breath they take is a testament to their resilience, as stories of survival dance upon their lips around crackling fires. The flickering flames cast shadows on the walls of their dwellings, illuminating their faces with a warm glow, even as the frost outside creates a bleak tapestry of stark whites and deep blues. As you immerse yourself in this world, surrounded by the beauty and challenges of this enigmatic land, feel the pulse of survival that runs through every soul dwelling in this frozen paradise. These resilient Norsemen, navigating their existence in the heart of the Arctic, carry with them generations of wisdom, finding sustenance and solace within the rugged embrace of the landscape. Through their struggles, they redefine what it means to thrive amid isolation, weaving tales of hope from hardship, reminding us of the sheer force of the human spirit against daunting odds. The cold may bite, and the isolation may echo with loneliness. But within this stark beauty lies an enduring heart, one that bravely beats under the unending expanse of the Arctic sky, forever fighting to flourish in a land that seems relentless. Here in this ancient realm, even amidst the frosty air and distant calls of the ocean, life finds a way, and through it, we discover a deeper understanding of our place within the grand tapestry of existence. In the frigid embrace of a Greenland winter, where the sun hovers low over the horizon, casting elongated shadows across a rough-hewn landscape, a Norse farm stands resolutely against the elements. The thatched roofs of the longhouse, thickly woven with seagrass each summer, sag slightly under the weight of glistening white snow. Wisps of smoke billow from the stone chimneys, curling slowly up into the crisp, cold air, a promise of warmth and the rich scent of burning birch logs within. This farm is a small outpost in the icy expanse, its wooden beams weathered and gray, revealing the stories of storms weathered and seasons past. Small paddocks encase the animals that provide sustenance, their breath visible in puffs of steam against the biting air. The occasional moo of a cow or the soft bleat of a sheep breaks the stillness, juxtaposed against the wind's relentless howl as it sweeps across the barren land. Eric, a Norse farmer and father, stands at the threshold of the longhouse, bundled in layers of wool and reindeer hide. His thick beard is flecked with frost, and his blue eyes, sharp and piercing, speak volumes of the weight he carries. Today, the lines of worry etched on his face are more pronounced than ever. As he gazes into the distance, he can feel the storm brewing, the ominous clouds rolling in like a tide from the horizon, ready to envelop everything in their icy grip. The last harvest had been modest at best. Each root vegetable savored more like a treasure than sustenance. With winter upon them, the supplies stored in the cool cellar beneath their home dwindled to a precarious level. Eric knows that as the snow falls heavier with each passing day, it becomes increasingly difficult to secure the food their family will need to endure the long months ahead. He turns his gaze back to the hearth, where his wife, Astrid, and their 2 children are busy preparing for the evening meal, oblivious to the tempest that stirs outside. The flickering firelight dances across their faces, illuminating joy in a moment that Eric desperately wishes to cling to. As the wind begins to howl more ferociously, Eric's heart sinks at the thought of the impending storm, the grim reality tightening around him like the frigid air itself. With every gust, he feels the gnawing fear settle deeper into his chest. It had been so long since they had faced a winter of such severity, and he could not shake the memories of stories told by old hunters about families trapped within their homes for weeks. Eric's stomach churns at the thought of how quickly their food would vanish if they were snowed in for long. The prospect consumes him. He could already feel the gnawing hunger that comes when the pantry runs thin and supplies dwindle. The store of dried fish and salted meat would not last long if they were confined indoors. And though they had made careful provisions, he feared it would not be enough should the storm grip them tight. As he wrestles with thoughts of survival and the harshness of nature, a sudden crack of thunder reverberates through the air, and Eric is jolted alert. This was no ordinary winter storm threatening their home. It was something more ominous, and he sensed it deep in his bones. The shadows in the hearth flicker and dance violently, mirroring the despair that crept into his heart. Time was running short, and he needed to act quickly. With a heavy heart, Eirik strides back into the warmth of the longhouse, his steps resolute yet burdened. He lowers his voice, cautious not to frighten Astrid and the children, as he speaks about the storm he sees approaching. A storm that threatens their very existence. The crackle of the fire seems to echo his somber tone as the warmth of the flame battles the impending chill. We cannot wait much longer, my love. We must gather supplies, put away what we can before the worst arrives. This storm is coming, and it will not be gentle. We have enough to last through the week, perhaps 2 if we ration carefully, but we must remain cautious and prepare for the worst. Astrid, her brow furrowing as she processes his words, nods in understanding. Together they gather their children close, fear and resolve intertwining among them. Outside, the wind begins to howl louder, and the first whispers of snow commence to fall. Eric steps outside once more, inhaling deeply as he surveys the depths of the looming storm, feeling it ripple through the atmosphere. His heart races with the weight of the task ahead, and the cold seeps through his layers. A reminder of the fierce battle his family is about to face against the elements. At that moment, the farm, previously a sanctuary of warmth, lingers on the precipice of uncertainty. How long could they hold on against the storm? And what sacrifices would they have to make to ensure they emerged on the other side? The morning light broke slowly over the horizon, a pale glow struggling to penetrate the heavy blanket of gray that obscured the sun. Eric stood at the edge of the forest, the air thick with the chill of encroaching winter. Each breath he took was a cloud of vapor, mingling with the dampness of the frost-covered ground beneath his boots. He shifted his weight, feeling the familiar crunch of ice shards cracking underfoot, the satisfying sound of a world locked in a frozen grip. The ground was no longer soft and yielding, but hard and brittle like unyielding stone, echoing the harshness of the season. Eric's journey into the woods was driven by necessity. The village, with its meager supplies dwindling, echoed with the murmurs of concern among his people. The days grew shorter, and with each passing moment, the stores and reserves of food seemed to dim like the setting sun. He hesitated for a moment on the threshold of the trees, the skeletal branches reaching toward the sky, covered in glistening frost like ancient fingers trying to ward off the chill. He ventured deeper, feeling the sting of cold air whip against his face. Each breath burned his lungs, reminding him of the raw power of winter. He grasped the hilt of his hunting knife, its handle slick with the moisture of his grip, and pressed on. The forest around him was eerily silent, save for the hushed rustling of branches swaying mournfully in the wind. It was as if the land were holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable toll that winter would bring. The hunting grounds showed signs of life, signs that were increasingly hard to find. The tracks of deer, once abundant, lay faint and sporadic, a jigsaw puzzle of frozen earth that filled Eric with a sense of dread. As he knelt down to observe the prints, he noticed they were shallow, evidence of the animal's struggle against the cold. The ground, now a fortress of frost, concealed the last remnants of life, forcing Eric to confront the reality that food was becoming scarce. The frigid temperatures gnawed at his fingers, turning them numb as he rummaged through his pack for dried berries, the last vestiges of summer's bounty. Eric lifted one to his lips, the taste and echo of sweetness quickly swallowed away by the rising fear. Each piece of food felt more and more precious, a treasure dwindling under the weight of winter's relentless march. His mind raced with thoughts of the village, of those who depended on his success. The children, their cheeks hollowed with hunger, flashed in his thoughts, each image a knife turning in his belly. The cold seeped into his bones, and as he continued his search, Eric was acutely aware of the cracks in the trees, the brittle branches that would soon yield to the weight of snow. Time slipped by unnoticed, marked only by the descending shadows that danced across the ground. The days were shorter, and Eric could feel the impending night creeping in, wrapping the world in uncertainty. He climbed a small rise, scanning the horizon for any sign of movement. With every passing moment, the reality of his predicament weighed heavier on his shoulders. The crunching ice beneath his boots echoed more loudly in the stillness, a solitary reminder that winter was not merely a season, but a trial, a challenge that would demand strength and resilience. The wind howled through the trees, a lament echoing for the dwindling game, an omen hanging heavily in the air. The branches overhead creaked ominously, and a thought struck him like a spark. If there was no game to be found, what would come of his family? Eric felt the chill of desperation seep further into his heart, realizing that the focus of his hunting was about survival. Not just for himself, but for every face that he cherished back in the village. The knowledge that food was scarce became damning, hanging over him like a storm cloud threatening to unleash its fury. Eric crouched low, seeking signs of movement beneath the underbrush. Frost crunched beneath him, a reminder of how precarious his situation was. Every approach he made now felt heavier, the reality of winter's grasp wrapping tighter around his gut. His stomach growled, a primal sound mingled with the ache of hunger. As he came to a clearing, he spotted the remnants of a fallen animal, half covered by the leaves and snow. The sight brought a flurry of conflicting emotions, a mixture of dread and relief. Here lay sustenance, yet it was a testament to the struggles faced by animals wandering into this wintry harshness. He couldn't help but imagine the desperate last moments of the creature that had succumbed to the season's fury. With every shift in the forest and each gust of cold air that brushed against his skin, Eric felt the landscape morph around him into a battleground. The heat of desperation coursed through him, a fire that fueled his determination. The season was against him, but hope flickered in the icy air, a promise that he would not surrender to the despair that winter would bring. News was sparse, food dwindling, but he would hunt. He would gather. Each encounter with nature a story of survival in this unforgiving arena. With resolute steps, he turned to face the depths of the forest once more. The crunch of ice beneath his boots resonating as a call to arms. A declaration that in the fight against winter, he would not relent. In the depth of winter, the landscape stretched endlessly beneath a glistening blanket of snow. The early dawn light, a soft gradient of violet and gold, swept across the desolate fields of Eric's farm. Shadows lay long and cold, and a biting wind whispered through the skeletal remains of trees. Each breath became a visible puff of frost in the air, a brief testament to warmth amidst the enveloping chill. This was the daily life of Eric, a life stripped to its bare essentials, repeating cyclically like the seasons that were slowly turning. Wrapped in woolen layers patched over and over for warmth, Eric stepped outside, boots crunching on the frozen snow. He cast a glance toward the barn, where the few remaining animals stirred, their muted noises breaking the silence that seemed to have draped itself over the property. The sheep were dwindling in number, each day a struggle for sustenance. Eric felt a twist of anguish. They depended on him, just as his family did. The biting cold seeped through his layers, nipping at his cheeks as he made his way to the barn. The heavy wooden door creaked open with a groan, revealing the dim interior, filled with the familiar smell of hay and warmth. Eric entered, placing a gloved hand on the back of the closest sheep, feeling the familiar coarse wool. Here, amongst these animals, he found a flicker of comfort, but even that was cloaked in worry. Would they survive the harsh winter without food? Eric leaned against the cool wooden wall, allowing himself a moment. Thoughts cascaded through his mind. Images of his wife and 2 children flashed like fireflies in the gray dusk of his worries. What if the next storm buried them all? What if he could not find food for them too? Would they, like the animals, face the weight of frost and emptiness? The questions gnawed at him, each one heavier than the last. He shook his head, pushing back the despair. After tending to the animals, a daily ritual that felt both mundane and monumental, Eric donned his fur-lined boots and stepped back out into the freezing wilderness. He had to search for food, not just for the animals, but for his family too. Lost beneath the snow, edible roots lay waiting, silent and hidden, buried under a thick layer of frost. Every step felt like a grave decision, the weight of worry weighing down on his shoulders as he trekked through the waist-deep snow. Coming to the edge of the field, Eric knelt down, gingerly brushing snow aside from the frozen ground. His hands were nimble with the practiced confidence of a man who had done this many times, yet each time bore the same anxiety. The earth trembled with the cold, and Eric felt disappointment settle in his stomach as his fingers uncovered nothing but more frost. Despite the dim hopes that flickered with the promise of roots, the truth was always there, lurking like the shadows between trees. Times were tough. He had to find something. As the morning dragged on, hours slipping away with each passing moment, the sun skimmed the horizon, casting long shadows that intertwined like fingers waving helplessly at fate. The pristine white of the landscape, once a dazzling expanse of snow, felt heavy now, laden with the silence of despair. Eric stood up, catching his breath. He could feel his heart pounding against his chest like a drum, echoing his growing fear. Would it ever end? The solitude echoed back at him, a reminder that he was alone in his worry, surrounded by an infinite stretch of white. The wind picked up, a fierce gust that pierced through his layers, chilling him to the bone. The smell of earth, damp and rich, mingled with the sharp tang of frost, filling him with a bittersweet urgency. He could taste the bitterness on his tongue, an endless reminder of the struggle for survival that each day brought. Eric took a deep breath, keeping the storm of emotions suppressed, focusing instead on the immediate mission at hand, to gather what little sustenance he could seek before the day gave way to night. Digging down once more, his hands finally grazed the rough texture of a root. Hope flickered through him like kindling. This could feed his family for another day. The roots, gnarled like the worries nesting deep within him, were all he had. As he pulled them from their icy hold, he could hear the haunting echo of vulnerability whispering in the wind. The daily life he faced stark against the unyielding cold of existence. With a few gathered roots in hand, the weight of his thoughts continued to press down as he made his way back to the warmth of the barn. The familiar creaking of the door offered a reassurance that this cycle, the uncertainty, the struggle, the exhausting routine, would return the next day. And perhaps the day after that, once more. This was how life continued for Eric, etched with resilience and softened by the gentle dream of a better tomorrow, all underlined by the biting cold that shaped each waking moment, his silence speaking louder than the howling winds. In the heart of a snowy Norse landscape, where the bitter winds howl like restless spirits, Eric stands upon the frost-kissed earth, surrounded by the imposing mountains that cradle his village. Winter has stretched its icy fingers deep into the lives of those he loves. The sky, a sea of gray, promises more snow, more hardship. Each crystalline flake that falls is a reminder of the relentless cold that paints their world and the primal struggle for survival that shadows them. As he peers into the dense forest that looms nearby, Eirik feels a profound connection to the land itself. To the Norse, it is not merely a backdrop to their lives. It is the very essence of their existence. The trees, clad in a mantle of white, appear to whisper ancient secrets, urging him to listen. Nature in all its majesty and fury is revered, a living entity that demands respect. It provides sustenance through its bounty in the warmer months, but can just as easily snatch it away, leaving them vulnerable. In times of hardship, as this winter proves to be, the community comes together like a great woven tapestry. Eric's family, neighbors, and kin gather in the longhouses, their spirits ignited by shared stories, laughter, and the warmth of their flickering fires. It is within these walls that they tend to one another, sharing what little they have. Sometimes it is a meager meal, perhaps a few scraps saved from the last hunt. Other times, it is companionship, essential for bolstering morale. They sing old ballads, recount tales of brave warriors and wise gods, and in these moments, they find solace. Yet with each passing day, dread creeps into Eric's heart like the frost under his skin. The supply of food wanes. Each day he ventures into the frozen wilderness to hunt, knowing that failure could bring desperation to his table. The echoes of laughter from the longhouse mingle with the gnawing anxiety of what tomorrow might bring, forging a heavy weight on his shoulders. As evening descends, Eirik kneels in the quiet of his small, warm home. The smell of burning wood fills his lungs as the flames dance, casting shadows that flicker like spirits against the walls. He closes his eyes and lets the gravity of his situation wash over him, feeling deep within his marrow the weight of responsibility to his family. There, in that somber stillness, he opens his heart to the ancient gods he was taught to pray to, his voice trembling with desperation. Odin, the all-seeing one, and Freyja, the goddess of fertility. He beseeches, yearning for their favor and guidance. With each whispered prayer, he conveys not just his fear of starvation, but his deep, abiding love for his family. His wife, Astrid, who tirelessly cares for their children, and his two small daughters, with laughter like chimes in the wind. They serve as his beacon of hope, illuminating the darkness that encroaches upon his mind. Erik imagines the bright spring days, rich with fish-filled rivers and fertile fields, and his soul ignites with an unwavering determination to cling to that vision. But the landscape around them is merciless. The hills, once inviting, now loom ominously, and the snowdrifts threaten to bury his hopes alongside the plants that lie dormant beneath their ice-bound shroud. The fear that wraps itself around his heart is palpable, a gnawing, relentless pulse that shouts, "Survive." The tales of his Norse ancestors remind him of the struggles they faced, how they weathered storms both outside and within. They hunted the mighty elk, they fished the icy waters, they labored together. Reliance on one another was not just a necessity, it was a way of life. As night deepens and the stars begin to twinkle in the ink-black sky, Erik takes a solemn breath. The fresh wood smoke clings to the air, the scent mingling with the salt of his tears. It is a potent reminder that though they face darkness, they are not alone, bound together as they are by love and courage. The old stories echo back to him, and emboldened, he rises to gather his family close, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope, ready to embrace the warmth and comfort of their unity. Erik's prayers are not voiceless. They mingle with the howling wind, reaching out into the hollows of the night, hoping to touch the gaunt cheeks of the gods. His sacrifices, a piece of bread shared around the table, the last remnant of a meal, are offerings worthy of the divine. In that humbling act, he feels a shift, a spark that ignites a deeper resolve to track the shadows that have taken up residence in their spirits. The landscape may seem unforgiving, but so too are the roots that bind his community, the love that flows through their veins like the lifeblood of the land. With renewed determination, Erik resolves to face the new day. The bitter cold will not break him. Instead, it would serve as a reminder to dig deeper, to draw upon the strength of the earth and the unity of his kin, binding them closer to each other and to the gods they hold dear. The Norse world, though harsh, is enveloped in a rhythm of life that honors both creation and destruction. The wind howled with a ferocity that seemed almost alive, clawing at the wooden walls of the small homestead like a pack of wild beasts. Outside, the landscape lay beneath a thickening blanket of snow, which fell relentlessly from the darkened sky, painting the world in shades of gray and white. The earthy aroma of damp soil, so familiar to the farm, was now trapped under layers of frost, suffocating the remnants of what had been a vibrant season. Inside, the hearth flickered weakly, casting erratic shadows along the walls, while the crackle of burning wood offered scant comfort to the tense atmosphere. Evelyn stood by the narrow window, her breath fogging the glass as she pressed her forehead against it. She could see the fields, once lush with golden grains, now transformed into a desolate expanse, swallowed by the storm. The night had come early, and with it brought an encroaching sense of dread. Days of nurturing and hope now threatened to be obliterated, leaving behind only ruin. The wind threw itself against the shutters with a dreadful insistence, echoing the turmoil she felt stirring within. "Look," Samuel, her husband, called out, his voice a mixture of fright and disbelief. He had been tending to the livestock when a gust of icy wind had blown the barn door wide open. The cries of their prize heifer, once robust and lively, had twisted into something more chilling. They had all grown quiet outside, too quiet, as if the storm had even stifled the voice of nature itself. "Check the water troughs," he shouted, moving quickly towards the barn. Instead of the usual lively moos and thuds of hooves, all that echoed back was an eerie silence, broken only by the sound of snow compressing beneath their boots as they stepped into the wretched cold. The snow clung to their clothes and chilled their bones, yet the urgency of the situation eclipsed the physical discomfort. Evelyn followed close behind, her heart pounding loudly in her ears. Every heartbeat drummed a different note of desperation. Shadows loomed larger than life in the flickering light of their lantern as they stepped into the barn, finding it eerily deserted. Their cherished livestock was nowhere to be seen. Panic danced in her chest like the restless winds outside. As they searched, a dreadful sight pierced through the fog of desperation. Their beloved horse, Silas, lay trembling on the ground, his deep brown eyes glazed with fever. The sight clawed at Evelyn's heart, twisting it with a sensation akin to ice. Samuel knelt beside Silas, pressing his hand against the animal's sweaty coat, feeling the heat radiating from it, a stark contrast to the numbing cold enveloping them. "Something is wrong. So many are down," he exclaimed, his voice trembling. Those around the town had spoken of sickness spreading through the valley, but they had dismissed it as mere gossip, a story told around the fires for entertainment. Now, faced with the stark reality, the walls of despair began to close around them, an unyielding grasp that left them breathless. Evelyn blinked back the tears threatening to spill. The fears that they had hidden deep within, tucked away like secret treasures, now flooded their minds. The storm was not just claiming their crops, it threatened their very livelihood. their family's future. The children's laughter sobered into echoes of worry. Their tiny hands that had helped weed and sow would yet again be left empty. The sound of their growing dreams tapering into harsh reality was deafening. Suddenly, a growl of thunder rumbled from above, the storm asserting dominance over their lives. Footsteps shuffled in the barn, and an unseen weight pressed down upon their shoulders. Evelyn could feel the chill wrapping around her, tighter and tighter as it took hold. Outside, the world continued to be swallowed by the storm, each flake descending like the slow toll of a bell, marking the death of their hopes. The house, once a sanctuary of warmth and love, felt like a prison now, echoing with the disbelief and fear that circled like vultures overhead. They retreated inside, but the oppressive weight of this snow seemed to follow them. In the darkness, lullabies of the past became specters taunting them with shattered promises of a bounty reaped from the fields. Days would stretch into nights, and nights into a haze of uncertainty as the wind howled its dreadful refrain, a dirge for their hopes. Panic continued to unfurl its icy tendrils, curling around their hearts like the relentless storm wrapping around their home. And within those walls, the once sunny corridors now echoed with despair, every creak an unsettling reminder of what had been lost in that chilling embrace. In the heart of a desolate winter, where the landscape lay wrapped in a shroud of stark white, Eric stood at the threshold of his cottage. The air was a crisp symphony of biting cold, swirling softly around him, beckoning him to step outside. The sun hung low in the pale sky, casting a delicate golden hue across the expanse of ice that stretched before him like a frozen ocean. It was a serene scene, yet the beauty belied the turmoil nestled deep within his chest. This season had been particularly harsh, and every day that passed without securing food weighed heavily on him. Eric's stomach rumbled in protest, reminding him of the empty larder that echoed the loneliness of his isolated home. Ice fishing had been a tradition in his family, designed to bring sustenance amidst the unforgiving landscape. Yet he had been hesitant to embrace it again after last year's misfortune. He could still picture it vividly. The failed expedition, the despair as he returned empty-handed, the biting wind that seemed to mock his every effort. The temptation to retreat back inside, to shun the cold and the responsibility of venturing forth, clawed at his resolve. Standing there, on the cusp of action, he could feel the weight of his choices pressing upon him. The frozen lake, glistening like a vast crystalline tapestry, drew him in, presenting both a challenge and an opportunity. With the sun's rays bouncing off the ice, he could almost believe that shimmering path could lead him to salvation. As he took a step forward onto the body of ice, The unsettling crunch beneath his boots filled the silence like a drumbeat. Each step felt monumental, echoing against the winter stillness. He glanced down at the ground beneath him, a patchwork of whites and blues, the surface marred only by the occasional fish hole, remnants of past endeavors. There was beauty here, albeit cold and uninviting. It was a beauty that promised both bounty and peril. Eric felt a shiver ripple through him, not just from the cold, but from something deeper that stirred inside. A flicker of hope that if he could just cast his line into that unforgiving abyss, perhaps today might be different. Perhaps today would not echo the despair of yesterday, but instead sing with the sweet sound of catching something, anything at all. He approached the edge of the lake, where the ice met water in a stark contrast, the dark depths lying silent and still beneath a glassy veneer. Eric reached into his pack, fingers numbed by the cold, and pulled out his fishing rod, the feel of the familiar grip igniting a spark of determination. He breathed in deeply, the frigid air laced with the scent of snow and the distant crisps of pine, filling his lungs as he steadied himself. In that fleeting moment, amidst the stark wilderness surrounded by undisturbed snow, Eric felt an unexpected calm wash over him. The sun hung just above the horizon, bathing the frozen expanse in hues of lavender and gold. This was the beauty of winter, a stark reminder of nature's unforgiving grace. It was a stillness that wrapped around him like a gentle embrace, whispering secrets of resilience and survival. Drawing upon every ounce of courage, Eric knelt by the ice, his heart thrumming in anticipation. He prepared to drill into the surface, eyes scanning the horizon as the world remained blissfully unaware of his internal struggle. With each twist of the auger, he listened to the whirring sound echoing around him and felt the ice surrender beneath the pressure. As he broke through, it felt like breaking a spell, a passage into the unknown realm below. A soft rush of cold air emerged from the watery depths, mingling with the sunlight that danced above, creating an interplay of light and shadow. Eric's breath quickened, caught between excitement and anxiety. Would he find what he was searching for today? With the hole drilled, he took a moment to collect himself, feeling the warm sun on his face contrasting with the chill of the ice below. Eric lowered his line into the water, and for an instant, all became still. Time seemed to pause. All worries melted away into the ether. His heart danced with the rhythm of possibility, a flicker of hope igniting like a flickering candle in the darkness. He listened intently to the silence around him, broken only by the gentle lap of water against the edges of the ice. In that serene moment, he felt something shift within. It was as if the world had divided itself into two, one of chaos and uncertainty, and another of expectation and quiet strength. As he watched his line flow into the depth, he felt tethered not just by the fishing wire but by the hope that tomorrow sun continued its slow arc across the azure expanse as the icy surface glinted, offering promises of fortune yet unseen. Eric's heart swelled, a gentle reminder that amid adversity, there thrives the potency of promise. Holding on to that thought, he remained still, casting his worries into the depths along with his line, envisioning, just perhaps, a future where the ice gives up its treasures. The sun sank low, painting the horizon with strokes of orange and purple as Eric made his way home. The rhythmic sound of his footfalls on the weathered path was punctuated by the occasional rustle of leaves stirred by a gentle evening breeze. Clasped in his calloused hands were 2 fishing rods, their tips dragging slightly along the ground, a testament to the day's efforts on the water. With each step, a mixture of weariness settled in his bones, yet an undeniable sense of accomplishment surged within him. The catch was modest, a handful of silvery fish that gleamed in the twilight, enough to fill his family's bellies, if only just for another day. As he neared his homestead, the familiar sight unfolded before him. The wooden structure appeared almost ethereal as the last remnants of daylight cast a golden hue upon its sturdy walls. Smoke wafted from the stone chimney, curling lazily towards the darkening sky. Eric paused for a moment, allowing himself to breathe in the comforting aroma lingering in the air. An inviting blend of hearty stew simmering within and the earthy scent of wet earth and leaves. Pushing open the heavy door, he was greeted by a warm glow that spilled into the entryway, illuminating the room filled with the soft murmur of family laughter. His wife, Freya, was seated at the kitchen table, cradling their youngest daughter, Elin, in her arms. The flickering flame of the hearth danced shadows upon their faces, casting a blanket of warmth and familiarity over the simple gathering. Eric felt a pang of gratitude welling up in his chest as he watched his family tucked together, a portrait of comfort amidst the swirling uncertainties of their world. Freya met his weary gaze, her eyes sparkling and welcoming as she gestured for him to sit. "You're back just in time, my love," she said, a genuine smile blooming across her face that eased the tension from his tired frame. Eric joined them at the table, letting his rods lean against the wall as he reached for a bowl. Although the day had yielded only a modest catch, the simple pleasure of sharing a meal with loved ones outweighed the weight of his worries. As he savored the first warm bites of stew, Eric's mind wandered back to the hours spent along the water's edge. The tranquil setting had wrapped him in a blanket of reflection while waiting for the fish to bite. He thought of the shadows of the mountains in the distance, cloaked in the veil of dusk, their formidable presence a reminder of the struggles they might face in the days to come. Each ripple in the water mirrored the uncertainty of their lives, fragile yet beautiful in its own uncertain way. Glancing around the table, Eric took a moment to appreciate the small joys that had punctuated his day. The first tug on the line that had brought forth a gleaming fish. The sound of Aylin's laughter drifting through the air like music. Yet within each fond memory, shadows lurked. Worries creased his brow as he thought of the harsh winter looming on the horizon, of unpredictable storms that could thwart their modest catch, and the relentless struggle against nature that they faced. Eric's heart sank momentarily, burdened by the knowledge that sustenance would become scarcer in the cold months ahead. But just then, his eldest son, Bjorn, entered the room, his face flushed with excitement as he rushed to the table. "Father, tell me about the fish." Bjorn's eagerness brought a smile back to Eric's lips, his youthful spirit a beacon of hope amidst the weight of adult concerns. The conversation shifted from silent reflection to animated storytelling, Eric sharing tales of the elusive fish they had pursued that day. He spoke of the rush it brought and the camaraderie nestled between each cast of the line, reminiscent of brighter days where laughter and light banished darkness for a while. As the evening air grew cooler outside, family members settled into their evening routines, the laughter morphing into a harmonious symphony that enveloped the humble abode. The home, dimly lit by the flickering firelight, became a sanctuary against the uncertainty that loomed just beyond the door. Eric stole glances at Freya, who was gently rocking Aylin, the child's eyes fluttering as they began to drift off to sleep under the tender lull of her mother's voice. In their peacefulness, he found clarity, a surge of resolve to face the trials ahead. The small catch had proven that while hardship was inevitable, they could find strength in moments of togetherness. Each shared meal, every nurturing touch, a reminder of their resilience. With the cool evening wrapping around him, Eric felt a flicker of optimism ignite within, a quiet promise to himself. While the days ahead may bring their share of storms, they would weather them together, united in love and resolve. As the last embers dimmed, Eric allowed himself to lean back in his chair, content to bask in the glow of his family, sheltered within the walls of their home. Sometimes, it was the warmth of connection that shielded one against despair more powerfully than any fishing rod could fend off the waves of uncertainty, like the cauldrons of olden days. Eric, the eldest son, sat at the head, the faint flickering of candlelight illuminating his furrowed brow. Each flicker threw shadows on the walls, resembling the worries that crossed his mind. Times were changing. A long winter lay ahead, filled with uncertainty and a sense of desperate need. His father, Olav, spoke first, his voice steady, yet laced with a gravity that echoed against the wooden beams of the cabin. "We need to be smart about our supplies. Rationing will be critical. We cannot let our food stocks dwindle too quickly, no matter how tempting the last of the harvest may be." The family fell silent for a moment, absorbing the import of his words. Eric's mother, Isolde, rested her hands in her lap, her fingers nervously twisting a thin strand of her hair as she considered the impact of their forthcoming decisions. In her eyes, there flickered a mixture of worry and determination. We have enough grains to last a while, but we must be diligent. Perhaps we can mix our flour with something else to stretch it further. Barley or acorns even. The suggestions flowed like fresh spring water, an offering of mixed thoughts that pulsed with life. Tension shifted to potential as siblings chimed in, each one contributing with earnestness. Young Frida, the youngest, suggested saving scraps of food to create vegetable soup, a warming thought that brought a unified murmur of approval from the elder siblings. Eric leaned forward, absorbing the ideas swirling around him. His heart thumped like a drum, a bittersweet yearning for courage settling within like a stone. He felt the weight of his family's survival on his shoulders, a mantle of responsibility he embraced yet dreaded. From the flickering candlelight, he could see the fear reflected in their eyes, and it only made him more resolute. "What if we trade with the folk from the nearby settlement?" Eric finally voiced, his thought breaking through the haze of uncertainty. "They might have livestock or goods we could use. Perhaps we could offer them preserved vegetables or dried fruits in exchange. We need to expand our community connections." His family nodded, their expressions shifting from apprehension to a semblance of hope. "It is a good idea, Eirik," Olav said slowly, pleased at how his son was beginning to think like a leader. "But we must be cautious. A barter is risky in times like these. Trusting the wrong person can lead to trouble." In the silence that followed, Eric's thoughts wandered as he gazed blankly at the table, the surface etched with scars from years of use and transformation. It reflected his own struggles as he recalled the stories of their ancestors, who had faced trials much greater than the ones he now grappled with. This was more than mere food. It was a legacy, a continuation of their way of life through connection and sacrifice. A brisk gust of wind rattled the window panes, the evening chill swooping into the warm interior. Eric's mind snapped back to focus as he glanced out into the gathering dusk, the curling branches of the darkening trees swaying under its touch. As the shadows lengthened, conversations blossomed with potential. Discussions turned to meticulous planning, how they could store provisions for longer, alternate ways to prepare meals, and ways to forage that might keep them fed. Isolde brought in the topic of rationing, her voice firm yet gentle. "Each of us will have a role, and it will be on us to stick to our calculations. It will not be easy, but if we stand together, we can make it through." Washed in the soft light of the room, Eric felt something stir within, a unique blend of fear and excitement. His family needed him now more than ever. With a heart filled with resolve, he made a silent vow to fend for them fiercely. He knew that this wasn't merely about surviving through a winter. It was about fortifying the essence of who they were as a family. As the evening wore on, plans and ideas wove a tapestry of hope amidst hardships. Eric glanced around, his gaze lingering on the faces of those dear to him. Their bright spirits, despite their fears, ignited a fire within him. Here in this cabin, warmth emanated not from the fire, but from the heart. A pulse of determination that bound them all. They spoke late into the night, laughter intermingling with conversations as the stars twinkled high above, oblivious to the struggles below. Out there amid the wilderness, a bitter cold awaited them, but within these walls, a sanctuary had been carved out, a place where resilience was more powerful than despair, where family bonds were cemented in purpose. And as they encircled their makeshift table, Eric gazed into flickering flames, feeling the deepened responsibility warm him against the chill of foreboding. In this moment, he understood. Together, they would face whatever came their way as one indomitable weave of hope and strength. In the desolate stretches of a snow-clad world, where the cold winds carried whispers of despair, Eric stood before the remnants of what was once a thriving holdings. The land, now a somber ghost of vibrant hues, lay beneath a thick quilt of frost, yet there was a hard lesson learned in survival that drew him forth. He was a solitary figure against the panorama of bleakness, and it was this setting, a reflection of both nature and heart, that shaped Eric's journey into the long aftermath of struggle. The struggles they had faced were not merely against the rugged wilderness, but against the gnawing chill that seeped through their bones. After weeks of relentless storms, both wind and snow had claimed their supplies. Fish from the icy streams were but a memory, while the stores of preserved venison dwindled to shreds. Eric recalled how each meal had transformed into a ledger of survival, each bite a painful reminder of the depletion. In the frenzy of harsh winters past, Eric had amassed enough to weather the seasonal storm, yet this time, his efforts had barely sustained his family. As the bitter winds howled outside their once bustling home, the sense of coldness extended beyond mere temperatures. Frostbite crept insidiously, twisting fingers and toes into numbness as Eric observed his loved ones suffering. Astrid, his beloved, wove warmth around their children in the form of ragged blankets, patches of vivid colors that could not disguise the frail forms they enfolded. Their faces were pale and haunted, shadows in the soft flicker of candlelight, as if the light itself struggled against the fortress of darkness encroaching upon them. Eric's eyes fell onto his children, who played near the hearth with the remnants of a once enriching existence. Laughter occasionally broke free, a precious sound, fragile and thin, fizzling like steam mingling with the cold. It was a reminder that joy could still briefly kindle despite the oppressive chill. But it was also a call to the frozen reality that enveloped them, the echo of his son's laughter shivering against the walls. He thought of their dwindling reserves and the toll they had taken on his spirit. Each day presented a new challenge. Each sunset a reminder of the fragile thread upon which their survival balanced. What had been the resolute fortress of their home now felt more like a collapsing shell, the kraals of despair crawling up the walls as they tried desperately to hold on to hope. Eric felt it deeply, the struggle against the very essence of desperation, both physical and emotional. The cold winds that slammed against the walls echoed a symphony of their struggles. Yet, as despair threatened to drown him, Eric found within himself a newfound resilience, birthed from hardship and enriched by the love for his family. He remembered the stories of his forebears, their relentless spirits that did not yield to frost or famine. In the heart of their dwelling, amidst the crackle of the fire, Eirik began to understand that resilience was not just about endurance. It was about transformation. With the last remaining threads of warmth, he resolved to venture out on the frost-bitten paths, to locate any available resources, to share an unbreakable bond with his bewildered family. The world outside taunted him, with frost glazing the trees. A ghostly apparition, skeletal against a dusk gray sky. Still, he clenched his fists, determination burning in his chest like a last ember. Every step he took felt like a defiance against that cold grasp of despair. The air stung with each breath, yet with each inhalation, he felt a flicker of hope igniting in the barren expanse of his heart. He trudged through the depths of snow, the crunch beneath his boots echoing a beat of his determination. He was bound to navigate this icy obstacle course, to discover what might lay beyond the white expanse. Through the frosty veil, Eirik discovered more than just the shivering remnants of reservations. He encountered a small bush, limp yet tenacious, stubbornly clinging to life amidst the frozen desolation. Boughs adorned with the last pale berries caught his eye. These small tokens were a glimmer of promise, potential nourishments that could feed his family when hope seemed to shrink away like daylight in the gathering night. A small victory, yet a profound one. When he returned home, the berries wrapped within his scarf, he found Astrid's eyes glimmering with renewed hope, as if she could sense the resilience unfolding within him. Gathering around the flickering hearth, they crafted a new meal, their unity a balm against the coldness outside. That night, Eric felt a warm glow radiate through him, not from the hearth, but from the comforting embrace of family, a warmth more powerful than any storm. In the deep silence of the night, as the world outside lay blanketed under an unforgiving sky, Eric realized that resilience was a shared fabric, a strength weaved through the threads of love, suffering, and survival. As frost settled on the edges of their home like a cloak, he knew that beneath this icy exterior, a powerful bond thrived. His family, though weather-worn, remained steadfast, proof that even amidst despair, The heart could beat fiercely, igniting a warmth that no frost could extinguish. In a far-off time, when the world still held the rawness of creation, lived Eirik, a Norseman carved from the wildly beautiful yet unforgiving land of the north. The unyielding sea, with its crashing waves and the tempestuous storms, surrounded the village, a looming reminder of nature's power, an element both feared and revered. As winds howled over the fjords, Eirik stood on the rocky shoreline, the salt air clinging to his skin, inextricably linked to those who had come before him and those yet to walk the earth. When the sun dipped below the horizon, draping the land in hues of umber and gold, Eirik often reflected on his people's struggle for survival. Life in the north was a tapestry woven with threads of hardship and resilience. The earth stood frozen in winter's grip for many long moons. Yet when spring would whisper its gentle promises, life would burst forth anew, a cycle that mirrored their own existence. Each season, with its plights and bounties, echoed the human spirit's true nature, indomitable and ever hopeful. In the heart of winter, the snow blanketed the world in white silence. Yet inside the warmth of the longhouse, the orange glow of the fire painted shadows on the wooden beams. It was here Eirik's stories mingled with the crackling of flames. His voice would rise above the murmurs of the hearth, recounting tales of past warriors who faced monsters not of myth, but of nature itself. They battled hunger, the jealousy of the sky in tempest, and the eeriness of the darkened forests. His people had learned to clutch hope like fine threads spun from fates of old, binding them to the earth through legends. As Eirik spoke, the scent of mead and roasting lamb mingled in the air, infusing their stories with substance. Character and courage slumbered within each drop shared, a communion not just with the present, but laced with the wisdom of generations that had survived before. Often he would speak of the relentless sea, a powerful force that tested human endeavor relentlessly. Yet the sea, in all its fury, also offered bounty. It was a giver and a taker, shaping destinies, teaching his people to remain steadfast against conquests of nature. Spring would bless the earth with its gentle touch, much like the caress of a mother waking her child, unfolding blooms brightly against the rich, dark soil. The thick scent of damp earth rising after the thaw filled Eirik's sails with courage, reminding him that rebirth followed hardship. It invigorated not just the land, but each soul, flickering like the first twinkling stars at twilight. The Norse understood this rhythm of life. Each year, despite the tears of sorrow, brought a bounty to counterbalance the struggles endured. Together they learned the lessons of survival through nature's lessons, harmonizing their lives to the cycles of the world. But the pathway of survival was strewn with trials. Eric would remember the summer solstice, the sun hanging high like a golden shield over the land, as families gathered to celebrate their existence. To honor the yet, while the days stretched long, the Norse gleaned wisdom from the short nights, where they could glimpse the taut fabric of fate that required vigilance. Even under warm skies, dangers lurked. As they reveled, singing tales of glory, the shadows at the edge came to remind them that all joy had its price. With autumn's arrival, the unyielding cycles once again reminded them of mortality. The vast skies turned to smoldering reds and oranges, a canvas of impermanence. Eric often found solace in the rustling leaves and the whispering winds, wearing the chill that crept with dusk as a testament to the enduring human spirit. Here the Norse learned their mortality, standing together beneath the twilight sky, their laughter sewn tightly into the fabric of their existence. Despite the hardships etched into the lines on Eric's face, the weight heavy upon his shoulders, he thrived as an embodiment of the ages. Each struggle was a chapter in his story, unyielding echoes of humanity's perseverance. The endurance to stand against the storms was a reminder that within these trials, there lay beauty, the beauty of resilience, community, and the will to fight for another dawn. On the morrow, as winter sent its chill clawing over the horizon once more, Eirik knew this rhythmic dance of survival would persist. With each cycle of the seasons, the spirit of the Norse would echo through time, a harmonious blend of hardship and hope, beauty and struggle, coiling around the bones of the earth itself. In the waning light of an autumn evening, the village of Skarsbu lay swathed in a hushed tranquility, cradled under the sigh of a gentle wind that rustled leaves on ancient trees. The days had grown shorter, and winter loomed on the horizon. Yet despite the chill encroaching upon their lives, within Eric's modest home, warmth blossomed freely. Inside, the rhythmic crackling of a fire echoed against the stone walls, casting flickering shadows that danced playfully around the small room. The flicker of flame brought life to the rough-hewn timber, and with it, its comforting glow embraced Eric and his family, providing both heat and a sense of safety against the harsh realities outside. Ever since the harsh winter months had claimed much of their harvest, the family had learned to find solace in these humble moments. Eric smiled as he watched his two children, Freya and Lars, huddled close to the fire. Freya's laughter rang out, unexpected and pure, a sweet melody that leaped into the air as she aimed a scrunched-up piece of dried leaf towards her brother. Lars, with his eyes wide and filled with mischief, ducked just in time, sending the leaf spinning harmlessly into the flames. The sound erupted like small pops beneath the wood. It was a moment so simple, yet holding the weight of love and joy. "You are both a pair of rascals," Eric exclaimed, his voice a rich baritone laced with hearty laughter. The sound reverberated through the room, folding around them like a warm cloak. His heart swelled with contentment. Such scenes would forever shape their memories, even if their reality remained marked by uncertain futures. In the midst of their laughter, Eirik turned towards the wooden table, where a meager yet satisfying meal awaited. A stew of foraged mushrooms, roots, and a handful of wild game that had not given in too easily to their traps. As they shared their humble feast, the steam rose in curling spirals, wrapping their senses in the fragrant embrace of herbs and smokiness. "More for you, Father?" Freya asked eagerly, her eyes shining bright with innocence as she offered him a small wooden bowl. His appetite wavered, not as a sign of lack, but of purpose. His joy lay not just in the meal, but in the act of sharing it, of nurturing his family amidst adversity. "Just a little, my darling. I need to leave some room for dessert, should there be any," Eric teased, coaxing a smile from Lars, who giggled uncontrollably at the thought of dessert, albeit imaginary. The sight of their joy bolstered his spirit. Despite the shadows of worry that clouded the edges of his mind, such moments broke through like the first light of dawn. As supper finished, they leaned back, savoring the contented fullness that accompanied a good meal. It was a piece of normalcy, a clear delineation against the chaos that bred outside their walls. With the echoes of their laughter still lingering in the air, Eric seized the moment. "Tell me a story, Father," Lars demanded, snuggling closer, the flicker of the fire illuminating his round, eager face. The innocence of his desire spurred fully alive memories, stories gathered and passed down through generations. And so Eric spun tales of brave warriors and mythical creatures, of the rugged North Sea and voyages long gone. He infused each word with spirit and valor, calling forth images of rugged paths trodden by their ancestors. His voice grew strong and full of life, while his hands motioned like waves, casting spells of adventure in mere words. Time ebbed away as they absorbed the tale, the challenges they faced drowned out by the magic of his recounting. Each laugh, each gasp echoed softly, a shield against the struggles that lay outside. Yet in these moments, a bittersweet acknowledgement existed, whispering beneath the surface. Eric remained aware of the frost that threatened their crops, the uncertainty of the coming months, the way the very landscape seemed to conspire against their survival. Their situation, rendered harsh by necessity, granted a poignant depth to their joys, a precious recognition that life could be simultaneously tender and ferocious. Soon, the fire began to recede, its glow growing dim, the embers fading into peaceful darkness. Eric watched his children, their faces aglow with dreams far removed from the burdens they endured. In that close circle, despite the unforgiving cold that beckoned at the door, warmth permeated through their laughter, a silent vow of support binding them together. Moments such as these merged into a new normality, accepting the challenges that loomed like heavy fog while standing firmly against them, embraced by the unwavering connection that united their hearts. As the night deepened, Eric gathered them close, their bodies forming a shield against the chill. "You are my greatest adventures," he whispered, his voice subdued yet rich, resonating with love. In this shared silence, they closed their eyes and found peace amid the uncertainty, nestled together against the looming shadows, cocooned in the warmth of family and love. In the twilight hours of a frigid winter's night, we find ourselves adrift in the echoes of Eric's journey. The air, crisp and biting, carries with it the scent of snowflakes dancing through the air. Each flake a testament to the harsh beauty of the world he traversed. Picture Eric, a solitary figure wrapped in layers of furs, carving his path through endless fields of white. The stark visuals of cold and snow envelop him like a cocoon, a realm both beautiful and merciless. Each breath he takes is a cloud of fog, dissipating quickly, swallowed by the vast emptiness of the frozen landscape. The biting wind howls like a haunting symphony, a reminder of the wild forces that linger just beyond the threshold of warmth and safety. Yet within this frozen wilderness, there is a flicker of something more, Eric's unwavering spirit. As he trudges through the drifts, every step is a testament to human resilience. The snow swallows his boots, yet he presses forward, driven by an innate need to seek warmth and solace, to find a place where he belongs. Imagine, if you will, the raw and unfiltered beauty of the northern lights painting the sky. Eric gazes upward. Vibrant curtains of green and violet shimmer above him, illuminating the night like echoes of forgotten dreams. In this ephemeral moment, the boundaries of time blur. He is not merely a man in the snow, but a vessel for the stories of countless souls who came before him, each enduring the fierce trials of nature's unforgiving tapestry. The cold has its own voice, a whispering melody that carries echoes of survival. It speaks of the trials endured by those who sought shelter from the storm, who built their hearths sturdy against the ravages of winter. Eric's heart beats in time with this ancient rhythm. He has faced adversity, weathered fierce battles, not just against the elements, but against despair itself. Reflecting on his journey, he becomes a bridge connecting the lessons of history with the present. Each hardship faced in the biting cold solidifies the roots of his existence. Survival here is beautifully paradoxical. It thrives in the shelter of simple pleasures, the crackling of a fire, the laughter shared among kin, the warmth of a sturdy roof overhead when the blizzards rage outside. Eric's journey doesn't culminate in a victory of conquest, but rather in the embrace of a home rebuilt from determination and love. Picture the stark contrast of his winter-worn visage against the glow of a flickering flame. Shadows flicker over walls adorned with reminders of yearning, the carvings of warriors, tales of the sea, and the spirits of ancestors who guide him even now. With every winding path he took, Eric learned to dance with nature's unforgiving temperament. He marveled at the resilience of the earth itself, how, despite its brutality, blossoms still seek the sun through the glistening snow. The beauty of nature's harsh existence lies not only in its peril, but in the solace it provides to the intrepid. The challenge, as much as it is daunting, becomes an invitation to discover strength where it is least expected. Close your eyes and journey deeper into this dreamlike sequence. The world around becomes a tapestry woven from memories and lessons learned. Each gust of wind is filled with the echoes of ancient voices, urging you to remember that within life's tumult, there exists an extraordinary poetic grace. The line between reality and history begins to dissolve as the tales of Eric's trials unfold before our imagination like soft snow blanketing the hills. It is here, in this blend of past and present, where we find a heartbeat that reverberates through time. We listen, a congregation of souls united in reflection, as Eric's journey resonates deep within our being. We understand the fabric of survival woven with threads of perseverance and forged in the crucible of nature's fierce embrace. As his voyage draws to a close, the warmth of home shines ever brighter against the backdrop of icy barrenness. Let it remind us that even in the depths of winter, hope flickers like the flames of a hearth, steady, unwavering. Eric's journey invites us to carry forth its lessons, to endure, to cherish, and to flow with the rhythms of life just as he did, amidst snow and ice, always yearning for the glow of home. As the last vestiges of Eric's tale linger in the corners of your mind, let us gently guide you back, away from the deliberate turbulence of adventure, into the serene embrace of a snowy landscape, silent and soft, illuminated by the gentle radiance of a full moon. Imagine yourself standing on the edge of a vast expanse, where the pristine snow glistens like 1,000 tiny diamonds under the watchful gaze of the night sky. Each flake reflected by the moonlight draws you deeper into the stillness of this tranquil scene. The air around you carries a crisp freshness, sharp but refreshing, each breath filled with the ephemeral life of winter. The trees surrounding you, cloaked in their white garments, stand as sentinels, their branches bowed under the weight of a delicate frost. The soft whispers of the wind weave through the boughs like a lullaby, an embrace of sound that carries the essence of calm. It is in this moment, wrapped in nature's stillness, that the fragility of life unfolds before you. Under this moonlit canvas, take a moment to reflect on Eric's journey, the bold choices, the unforeseen hardships, and the quiet acceptance of life's impermanence. Each twist and turn he faced brought him closer to understanding the value of each fleeting moment. In this snowy landscape, allow the beauty of those experiences to resonate within you. And every shimmer of snow reflects the gentle reminder that life, too, is a delicate balance of joy and sorrow. Each breath draws in gratitude, an invitation to honor not only the highs but also the lows, the tender moments that shape who we become. Embrace the bittersweet nature of existence. It is a beautiful tapestry of emotions, woven with love, loss, and everything in between. As you stand in this serene winter scene, closely observe the way the moonlight dances upon the snow, how it transforms the ordinary into something extraordinary. Let this illumination be a symbol of hope, of the light that persists even in the darkest of nights. Every gentle breeze brings with it a whisper of comfort, encouraging you to cherish the delicacies of life and the stories that weave you into the fabric of this world. As our journey together concludes, take this imagery of peace, this panorama of serenity with you. Let it cradle you in its arms. Know that with every nightfall there is light to guide you, even when obscured by shadows. Allow yourself to be ensconced in this calm, where the world feels lighter. The burdens of the day dissolve into the snow, and there is nothing but the soft caress of nature surrounding you. Embrace this peacefulness that beckons you to rest, knowing you carry forth the essence of Eric's tale within you, a story robust and layered with truths that echo through time. With each breath, sink deeper into this tranquility, cradled softly by the snowy landscape, until the embrace of the night fosters your final surrender to sleep. May your dreams weave together the remnants of Eric's adventurous spirit, swirling into a tapestry of aspirations and reflections, allowing the gentle beauty of his journey to inspire your own.